Hello folks, good evening and welcome to another whisky review with me, Marty McCauley of Irish Whisky Review, but I'm still in the States, and while we're here we want to try things that are new, things that are maybe a little bit obscure, things that I've picked up along the way. I'll just fix my collar a little bit, and things that you can pick up in the massive liquor stores over here, but some other little things that are very obscure, single cask bottlings and stuff that I've picked up just to try. I'm giving them reviews just to see what they are like, just to give them a whirl. Now this one I picked up because there was a bit of a thing in 1 week in Ireland where different grains are being used. Whisky is a distilled spirit made with grain, essentially. Single malt and stuff is a different category, has to be 100% malt. But whiskey is a distilled product made from grain. And a lot of the time, the vast majority of whiskey that's made is actually a blend. I keep hearing the figures 20% of whiskey sold these days is single malt, 80% is still blend. I've no idea whether that's still accurate just at the minute. It changes. It seems to be that single malt is making more and more of an effort and an inroad. But a blend is primarily these days made with corn in a column still, where there's not that much flavour. That's kind of the point. They're not really looking for flavour. It's kind of trying to make something that's fairly neutral. And then there'll be a malt content. But there is room for manoeuvre. And there's moves in Ireland to try and see if you can use wheat instead of maize or corn to distill in column stills, because at the minute, from what I'm led to believe, there is better yield coming out of the wheat than there is coming out of the corn. Who knows what's going to happen in that regard? But these guys have made this. This is Unbendt straight wheat whiskey, 50% from the BENDT Distilling Company in Lewisville. I think it's Lewisville, Lewisville, Louisville, Texas, not Kentucky. So this is a Texas whiskey, of which there are many. Now, we'll give this a little perusal, get the old geeks on. BENDT whiskies are made from our perfectly handcrafted individual whiskies, unblended, straight, small batch, perfectly unbent. The Unbent Whisky series takes unblended whisky into new territory with a world-class lineup of craft distilled, straight grain to glass whiskies. Grain to glass, very nice. Unbent straight wheat whiskey is crafted from local soft red winter wheat, soft, creamy, and reminiscent of fresh from the oven baked goods. We like this. Back in my distant past, I was actually a baker. I did a little bit of baking. Haven't done any for decades, but I used to be a baker. Now, wheat tends to have a totally different flavour profile from corn. Now, I said that in column still distillation, there is, you're not really expecting much flavour. There's not much flavour. But initial trials are showing that maize is very clean, crisp, quite sweet, even though sugar doesn't come through the still. So what you get is essence of sweetness. It's chemicals that we associate with sweetness and lightness that tend to come through. Sugar doesn't come through a still. So when it's being column stilled, it's coming out high alcohol, comes out clean, crisp, fresh. Wheat is bringing out more herbaceous notes, more apple notes, I'm led to believe, and that kind of thing. You're getting these varying different notes, even though it's distilled at a very high ABV. You're still getting a difference in flavour profile. Now, wheat is probably going to start making more inroads because everyone's trying so hard to get that little bit of space on a shelf. If you can get space on a shelf, you probably have it cracked. That's as good as you're ever going to get. In the States, 95%, 90, over 90% of the whiskey produced in the States comes from a handful of distilleries. The behemoths, your Jack Daniels, your Jim Beams, your MGP up in Indiana. I mean, MGP, the amount of stuff, I have no idea how much stuff they make, but they make absolute mountains of whiskey that then they sell third party and people bottle under their own label. If you've ever tasted an American whiskey, if you've tasted some American whiskies, chances are you've drunk something from MGP. They make huge amounts of it. So the fact that this is grain to glass is one of the small artisanal guys in Texas who are trying to get their little bit of shelf space. They must be very successful because I bought this at one of the big um, liquor stores. Now, the fact that they're having to try, right, how do we get that? How can we get a space? They'll do different things. So this is made with wheat and it's aged for 4 years. Does it say it on this or did I Google that? See, some of this stuff you have to go online and go to the website because there's not that much information on these labels. Doesn't actually tell you on this, but yeah. So, what's it like? Well, first off, it's fairly floral, but it's grassy notes coming behind it. The fresh floral notes give it a fairly reasonable, nice bouquet, and there's quite a lot of wood appearing there too. There's quite a lot of wood notes there, and pleasant. It's dried wood, plain wood. You know the like cut timber, which is nice. It's quite pleasant on the nose. There's nothing massive to write home about. A little bit of charred wood there too. So it's kind of this nice sort of woody, pleasant, herbaceousy, floral kick through. Um, yeah, this is quite pleasant actually on the nose, but nothing to write home about on the nose. Now, this is aged in. I googled this. It's in a 3.5 char cask. So reasonable char on it. But the nose isn't punchy, and it's probably because it's quite high in ABV. A little bit of water, open it up if you so desire. I don't. I've tried it. A little bit of water. Didn't really do an awful lot more to it, but it's not unpleasant. It's reasonably nice. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Now the arrival's quite sharp. It comes in quite sharp and gives an impression. Yes, I'm 50%, but um, it's like quite a lot of American whiskies do this. They punchy, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. This is quite punchy, but it stays quite punchy. It's got that elongation of arrival. Really quite pleasant. Toffee notes. Again, that herbaceous note coming from the wheat. Layer on layer of richness. There's not an awful lot of lightness, even though it's at 50%. This is quite heavy, quite tasty. And as it moves back, it's got lots of sort of honeycomb uh, sweetness, sugary sweetness coming all the way through. And it sort of starts, it's funny because it starts quite herbaceous at the front on the arrival, but sort of everything arrives really. Imagine having a guest list and all the guests arrive at once. It's kind of like that. So everybody's there and you're going, right, come on in, come on in, come on. And as everybody starts to filter through, it starts to get better and better. The finish on this is really quite pleasant. And it gets this sort of unchanging, rolling, slightly evolving thing. At the end of the finish, it doesn't taste that much different than at the start, but it has changed. And it's changed in sort of subtle ways. I think this whiskey could take quite a bit of abuse. And what again, if you've watched any of these reviews, what I mean by that is you could probably stick an ice cube in this and it'd be okay. A couple of teaspoons of water and it would be okay. You put it in a mix, it'd be okay. It's very versatile. And it's interesting in that it just sets itself, it presents itself forward. And it's like, here we are, make of us what you will. And that's kind of what this is like. And it's not unpleasant at all. Mm. And now it all starts to unravel. And it's got biscuity notes, kind of like Twix, kind of that element, that biscuity, Twixy thing that's coming through. A little bit of English biscuits, your sort of rich tea notes, so cereally, toffee, honeycomb. A little bit of um, one of those obscure. I'm trying to think of the obscure ice cream flavors. You know, like Ben and Jerry. They've got like cookie dough ice cream, kind of one of those. I can't quite place my finger on it, but it's kind of in that ballpark, and that's really pleasant and easy to drink at 50%, but could do lots and lots and lots of stuff with it. Very well made, very well made. It's quite young. You know, there's no. I think as this would move on, see, this is kind of the problem with some of these whiskies. They're pleasant at this level. They are the new kids on the block. They are quite tasty. They're reasonably priced. But as this all starts to move forward, in 10 years, what's this going to taste like? Will it become more refined, more subtle, more elegant and eloquent? Will it arrive in a certain way and, you know, present itself in a totally different way? Well, it has to. It kind of has to. But is that a good thing? Who knows? The price point, again, this wasn't very expensive, sort of $50 range, something like that. But I kind of like the fact that this is a bit brash, a bit, hello, everybody, come on, let's go, boom. And I find this is more and more of a thing with these American style whiskies. They're a bit brash, they're a bit upfront, they're a bit, yeah, look at me. That's kind of the way they should be. I mean, this is a Texas whiskey, and having spent a bit of time in Texas, even though I mean I'm over in El Paso, which a lot of people say is just on the fringe of Texas, is probably as much Mexico as it is Texas. But there is that element of I'm a big brash Texan, you know. There's loads of people walking around here with the Stetsons on, big guys. I saw a guy. I swear to God, I saw a guy walking down dressed as the Undertaker the other day. That's who he was dressed. You know, the WWE wrestling star. And you think, okay, maybe he wasn't dressed as the Undertaker. He was carrying a belt. He was carrying like a WWE wrestling belt, just walking down the street of a Saturday, and it's kind of like that, you know, that sort of brash. I'm from the US. I'm Ron Swanson or whatever. I'm up front and I'm there, and maybe that's the way American whiskey should be. Yeah, don't worry about taking on the very refined, elegant, your Glenfiddichs, and the Dunvilles, the kind of very sweet but very well presented, lovely American whiskies. Maybe they should be a bit more. Here we are, bang up front. There ain't nothing wrong with it. This is very well crafted. My hat's off to the people that made this. My feels reasonable, very good, reasonably good. Yep, good, more than good. And there's that lovely sort of all coming out now. Biscuity, desserty, slightly herbaceous, sweet. Yeah, ain't nothing good whiskey. Again, I'm going to give it a mark. Yeah, 8 out of 10, easy enough. Yeah, 8 out of 10. It's good. It's well presented and very, very reasonably priced. And when you've got something that's kind of hard not to like, very hard not to like. So yeah, if anyone sees Unbent, Unblended, straight wheat whiskey, and if this is what wheat whiskies are, that different profile, that's more herbaceous, more notes to it, then I'm all for it. I like a bit of wheat coming through. So yeah, if you see this, give it a whirl. All a good whiskey from Texas. Excellent. Don't forget to join me and Justin on a Saturday, 10 o'clock, Greenwich Mean Time, where me and him discuss most things about whiskey, including his little baldy head. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Alright guys, take care and stay safe.